In order to make our textures look just that little bit better with the resolution, what we're going to do is double click on our material here and start putting in some layer detail in here before we get to these UVs to be able to make those UVs just look a little bit nicer. To do that, we're going to type in here landscape layer coords. From here, we'll be able to then multiply this by the size before plugging it back into the UVs. As you need to understand, even though we may see these as colors, the computer only reads these as numbers, and so it's important to remember that you can use the same arithmetic functions in order to increase or decrease the values of these colors and coordinates. To do that, I'm going to left click and drag out of here and type in multiply. I'm then going to left click on this B here and promote to parameter. I'm going to call this parameter size. This means that I should be able to change this later on the fly as I'm looking at my 3D map. I'm going to left click and drag into UV here and into UV here. At the moment the size is 0, so I'm going to put the default value up to say 0.25. If I click save and open up my level now, you'll notice that the grass is looking a little bit nicer. However, the gravel still has not. That is because I need to apply this same technique to the gravel texture. If I click save now, go back into my level, you'll notice that the textures are looking a little bit nicer as they are just slightly bigger. Press play now and walk around our level. It looks less obvious that these textures tessellate. There is one other trick that we can use in order to break up this tessellation just a little bit that I'll show you quickly now. Without going into too much detail, if we look here at this gold, we can see that it breaks up a lot of its tessellation by having this overall patchy sort of look to it. It does this by using this macro texture variation, which takes in all of these different textures here, multiplying their coordinates, adding them together, and then multiplying them with a reduced macro contrast and plugging into here. Rather than get you to do all of these things yourself, we're simply going to copy from here and then go back into our landscape material and paste it in here as well. We're going to move these down so they're out of the way. And now we're going to plug this multiply into here after taking it out of the base color, just to break up some of the color variation that we see in here, to make it less obvious that the texture is tessellating and take away the gridlock. Now, when we look at it from a distance, we'll start to see that level of patchiness, which breaks up our eye line and stops us from seeing the grids as they go across. This should be all that you need now to be able to set up and get in your materials. Don't forget, if you want to add in more textures, all you have to do is go here to Layers Blend, add in another layer. In this case, I'm going to type in there rock. Copy the material expression, and while we're at it, we'll also copy in our layer coordinates. And now we just need to bring in different textures that we can plug in here. I've called this rock, so I'm going to go to my starter content and go to textures and search for rock, though I could just as easily search for stone or anything else I wanted to use for this. I'm going to use these two here and plug them in. And then change their resolution using this multiply. And then finally, plug this into here. Remember that as this is a new layer, I will still have to generate a map for it, but as you can see down here, a new layer has appeared. If I click here on Create Layer go weight blended ratio and save that as well. We now have those 3 layers: grass, gravel and rock. So here on my cliff face now, I can start painting in that rock layer. It will take some time to think about it, but then after that it should be smooth sailing and I should be able to start painting on my rock texture here. So take this time now to start building out your textures and your materials and start building out your level and blocking out the basic details.